What's going on YouTube? JR Juggernaut1 here, back again with another deck profile video. This is a deck I was testing, as I was telling you guys about. I call it TG0. It's a new take on heroes. I want to talk about it briefly. Just the fact that I was running, as you guys saw in my previous videos, in one of my previous vids, I was running an anti-meta hero deck that was like, had heroes, Tengus, it was like, ran Fusion Gate as well. It was a very effective deck. But the problem I kept having with it, and I saw playing against a lot of matchups, is that you can control your opponent very much with it, but you can also, the deck has a lot more trouble than other decks in terms of getting over big monsters. And I'm realizing like a lot of the format right now is about big monsters. You've got Master Hyperion, Black Luster Soldier, Chaos Sorcerer, Judgment Dragon, among synchro monsters, Exceeds. You just want to be able to deal with them, and that hero deck just didn't have much ways of doing it. So I decided to make a different hero deck. I thought of the idea of combining heroes and TGs. I don't know why, but I found a build that's effective. I've honestly found this deck to be very consistent up until now, hence why I'm considering running it at my next regional. There's still a lot of tweaking that needs to be done, but my friend, I was showing this to my friend, he likes it, he thought it was innovative. He was suggesting maybe I run something more up to like the meta, but honestly, I like the idea of being different. It's just an effective deck that's different. I find my opponents, they have a harder time of dealing with it, and as you know, it's just more fun that way. But yeah, I ran some of my locals earlier today, which is technically yesterday. I went 2-2. Again, I never had any terrible hands, so I was happy about that. The deck worked pretty well. I just kind of had some bad luck throughout my time there. Round one, I lost. I got sacked by Light Sworns. I really got sacked. You guys will find out. Like, if you guys were there, you would have seen for yourself. Because it involved double Chaos Sorcerer and Black Luster Soldier. That's all I need to say. Round two, I faced a random Nordic deck. I beat the kid really easily. Round three, I faced Light Sworn again. This time I won. I won game 3 in time. But to be fair, the way my opponent misplayed, I could have easily beat him, even if we didn't go into time because of my hand and how ridiculous it was. Round 4, I lost to Gravekeepers, but to be fair, I only lost game 1 because my opponent had double warnings to stop both my important plays that would have resulted in his loss. And I believe it was game 2, I lost because of Royal Tribute plus Dark Hole. Yeah, and it sucks when the Royal Tribute hits all 3 cards in my hand, which happen to be monsters. So yeah, let's move on to the deck. So okay, we've got 1 Stratos. For the heroes, we've got a Stratos, 2 Malicious, 2 Diamond Dude, and last but not least, 1 Ice Edge. This is the hero lineup. I kind of want to bump it up to a 5th D hero, but I don't think I'm going to. Like, this is just better, but it's annoying because you sort of want to have more targets and to be able to have more targets for D-draw. Stratos, straightforward. Mally's straightforward. Diamond Dude's straightforward. I like Ab-Zero just because it's not Ab-Zero, Ice Edge, because it's a nice discard outlet for Mally, and just it baits out a lot of the cards that would stop me from making my big pushes. So I see this as a very good card to use for that reason. Triple Deep Sea Diva. I mean, this card is nuts. It's really, really good. I really like this card. I hate when it gets Effect Veilered, but there's a lot of different things I can do with this thing, so it's fine. It opens up a lot of plays. One of the reasons is because you also play the Lost Blue Breaker. I hate drawing this thing, I really do, but because of the other cards you play, you can sort of have just normal summon this, and you'll have options with it, so it's pretty cool for that reason. And now for the TGs, we've got Double Striker. You special summon this thing from your hand like a Cyber Dragon, and you can sync. It's really good for that reason. Double Warwolf, more of a combo card because it works only in conjunction with like your Strikers, your Deep Sea Divas, and your Revival cards, but it is so worth it because of the plays you can do with it, so yeah. And then Double Rush Rhino. People would argue that Rush Rhino is the worst TG to run, so you should only run 1. I honestly like 2 though because of the fact that it does what your TGs really are good at. It provides you with a nice beat stick that can deal with some of your your opponent's more anti-meta-ish cards, the bigger monsters you need to be able to get over. And when it's destroyed, you just get another TG monster to your hand, and you're able to retaliate next turn. So I really like it for that reason. Just the more TGs I can use, the better, really. Without, of course, without being excessive. And the last monsters I have are Double Effect Veiler. This deck really has a trouble with monster effects. I feel like Veiler is just a very good card to use for that reason. I don't have Max Cs, and I don't think I would run them anyway because it creates too much risk of me drawing into the cards I don't want to draw, like Lost the Breaker or Double Mally. Sanguine, because it searches out like half the deck. And last but not least, one BLS. I know this seems like an odd choice because I'm only running 2 lights, the effect failures, but I played this thing a lot, and I played this a bunch of times during the tournament earlier today / yesterday. Moving on to the spells, we have Double Pot of Duality. This is not by any stretch of necessity, I will make that clear. I just find this card to be really good and just bumps up the consistency of the deck. So I would rather play it than not play it, even if it prevents you from special summoning. Double D draw. This card is absurd. I love it. I love it's at 2. I'm happy I can play it. I'm happy I have 2 ultras. Really isn't much else I need to say regarding this card. Double Miracle Fusion. This is sort of your win more card of the deck. I hate to say it. You really don't kind of rely on this as like your game winning card. It's like, you play it, you kind of have this extra out, but what I'll normally love to do is I'll go Synchro, Miracle Fusion, boom, kill you. It's just so good for that reason. But most of the time you're just gonna use it to make Ab-Zero as opposed to anything else. Heavy Storm. This is my only back removal in in the form of spells. I don't run MST. I don't find MST to be that helpful. I just couldn't make room for them, and as I've been testing with this deck, you really don't need MST. It's just not a necessity. Reborn, Dark Hole, Future Fusion. This card is so good, it's not even funny. Rhoda, Allure, Creature Swap. Oh my god, I want to bump this thing up to 2. This card is so good. I trolled people with it all day. Best play of the day was when I cleared all monsters on my opponent's field except for their BLS, and then I went Creature Swap and took it, and I was just like, well, I just thought to myself, what is he going to do? Because my field was Ab-Zero, Stardust, I believe Brionic, and BLS, and I was just like, what now? And then Mind Control, because this card's just as broken, if not more. And finally, for the traps, we have Double Call the Haunted. One of the most dumb decisions Konami made was putting this thing back to 2 and not hit Reborn. This card is absurd in this deck. You've got 7 floaters you can hit with this thing. You have plays you can make up the ass with this thing. It is incredible. The only reason this card is not, the only way to make this card better at this point is if you were to run Zephyros. And the only reason I don't run Zephyros is because the Dark Fusion isn't out yet. If I had more of a reason to run it, I would certainly use it because it is that good. Because this card is just that good in the deck. Solemn Brigade. Straightforward. Theoretically, you don't need to run all these traps, but I just like them as I'd rather have these as outs to my opponent's huge plays. I realize it's kind of like with plants. They can make some big pushes, and they still play the warnings, to just stop their opponent's plays. I would rather have these cards for the same reason. And then finally, Torrential and Trap Dust Shoot, because this card wins games on its own. It's absurd. Yeah, that was pretty much it for the main deck. Nothing I would really change at this point. I'm probably going to make some changes to it over time, but I'm not sure. The trouble is finding cards. When you make a new deck like this, it's finding cards that have the best synergy with the deck. People are telling me they like the deck that's innovative, but again, it's because it's so different from the meta, it's hard to figure out how well it works. Moving on to the side deck, we have Double Breaker. Some people would argue this is a horrible side choice, but to be honest, I like going Striker and Breaker, pop a back row, Synchro Summon. I think that's a really good play. Double MST. You don't main them, you have to side these, they're just that necessary. It's self-explanatory. Double Deep Prison, double Bottomless. I'm not sure about the Bottomless. Deep Prison's definitely staying. These things are really good. Bottomless, I'm iffy about. I kind of want to keep it in because I just find it to be good against a lot of matchups, but I don't know how much I really want to use them at this point. I could easily see them going out, being removed. Double Doom Cow and double Thunder King. I'll put it this way: the Doom Calibers, I'm taking out. I'm switching them for Haikus. The Thunder Kings are boss. They need to be in the side deck. It's one of the best cards in the game right now, as you've probably heard from a lot of people. The last 3 cards were double Smashing Ground. Smashing Ground is here to just so I can make big pushes, clear my opponent's field, and just not have to deal with their monsters. I really like this card for that reason. There are not a ton of decks I would side this in against, but if there's a deck where I just want to make sure I can clear their field, I will side this in, particularly just against the best decks in the meta, like plants and stuff of that nature. Last but not least, the Super Poly. Because you're not running a ton of fusions, more than one is excessive. You're not really going to side this out as much as you would hope. And finally, the extra deck. We're going to go the 3 parts of it: the fusions, Xyz, and synchros. For fusions, we've just got double Ab-Zero, 1 Gaia, and a Shining. These are the only fusions I legitimately make in the deck. You can make room. You can, if you really want to, make room for a Great Tornado and a Nova Master. But honestly, since it's very hard to make them and you're hardly running any heroes, I just don't see a point to running them for filler reasons. You know, it doesn't make sense. There's too many synchros and Xyz I could want to use in this deck, so I had to keep the fusion count low. For Xyz, we have a Gachi, which you can make with your Divas / Striker. Really, it's not a card you're going to make that often, but it is a card that's great for stalling, and if you really are desperate to, and if you really have no better play to make, it can be good just, you know, on its own to boost your monster's attack. I really like it. Especially after siding. 1 Levier. Levier, you're only going to play in one circumstance, which is when, like, it's the only rank 3 you're going to play, and it's the best one you can play. If you're going to go for rank 3, you might as well go for this as opposed to Leviathan and Utopia. Then for the synchros, we have a Wonder Magician, Catastor, an Android for 5s. I make 5s a lot. I realized these 2 just weren't enough and I needed to throw in the Android, mainly because it's a light. You could use Hyper Librarian instead, but I'm trying out Android because it's a light, and Hyper Librarian, you can't gain much advantage off of the synchro, off its draw effect. And 6s, we've got Brielle and Gaia Knight, straightforward. No 7s because there's rarely any opportunity where I can make them. So for 8s, we've got Stardust and Scrap, the 2 best level 8s right now, and for level 9, Trishula, because you can make this thing relatively easily. So that's the deck. Hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry that took a while to kind of go through. If you guys have any comments or suggestions, you know, just let me know. Hopefully I will either improve upon this deck or create another deck that's worthy of topping a regional, and we'll see what happens. So peace out, guys.